Hi, this is Steve Adler. Got a minute? So I get it. We're home. A lot of us are now homeschooling, taking the lessons from school, working through with our kids. If you can say one thing for sure, I think that all of us, if we didn't before, we now really appreciate teachers. And assuming we all appreciated them before, we appreciate them a little bit more now than ever before. Enjoy that time. I can tell you, with my kids having grown, you look back and you just absolutely relish these kind of opportunities. So make sure that you enjoy it too. So today, the new number for today, as we keep track of numbers, this is from the city's website. 502 confirmed cases. Still no increase in the 6 people that have passed away. This 502 increase is an increase of 18 people over where we were yesterday. It represents a little less than a 5% increase. So we track it over time, and you can see that we started down here, went pretty rapidly. We accelerated. And then here we find that it might be flattening out just a little bit, maybe. When you have those few data points, you really can't draw conclusions, but certainly it's a good sign. So this virus now, what we're beginning to see this week, the middle of this week, toward the end of this week, is we'll start seeing the results of the physical separation that we started 2 weeks ago. And the reason for that is because that the virus incubates, takes up to a week when it's transferred before it begins to manifest itself. And then the numbers we're looking at in terms of someone going to get testing, the symptoms have to come on usually for someone to do that, and it takes up to a week for that to happen. So when we're counting folks, the folks that we're seeing now, were set into motion 2 weeks ago. So this is the week that we should begin to see what's happening with the social distancing in our community. It's a good sign for us to be able to see this beginning to taper off, maybe, but it's not any one day. It's over lots of days that we'll be taking a look at, but it is something that's good to see. People reading in the newspaper about this being kind of our Pearl Harbor week, I think they said in Washington. That may be true if you live in New York right now. New York's dealing with, just an incredibly steep curve that we're trying to flatten out here in Austin. They are hopeful that they're going to reach their peak here sometime within the next week or so. The modeling that we have here in Austin would indicate that we're not going to reach our peak until the end of April, maybe into May. We'll get some more modeling tomorrow or the next day that we'll be able to take a look at. But we're really not going to know a lot until we actually can take into account what happens in our community over the next week to 10 days. That'll tell us a lot about what our trajectory is on. But in any event, we will not be seeing our peak here in Austin in the next week or so. I'm really encouraged by seeing the number of people that were wearing the face coverings today out. Remember, it's recommended. When you go to the grocery store, the best thing you can do to help protect the clerks in that store is for you to wear a mask. If everybody wore a mask when they went into the grocery store, boy, I tell you, those clerks would get the best protection possible. The reason for that is wearing the mask doesn't protect you. It stops you from infecting other people, which is why we should all be wearing masks in the grocery store to protect the clerks. But I'll tell you, if everybody in the store is wearing masks, then you're better protected too. And it's not just in grocery stores, it's wherever you are. It's workers on construction sites. It's when you're not inside, and we want you to stay inside, but when you're not, really recommended that you put on a mask. We'll come back and talk about that in just a second. A couple questions that we've gotten that I wanted to address. This one from landlords. He says or she says, we're doing a lot to help with rent relief for tenants. What are we doing for landlords? And the question specifically was, what about utility and insurance relief? They are not free and they need to be paid as well. Well, I want you to know that there's an item on the City Council agenda this week, sponsored by the Mayor Pro Tem Garza, that I think is going to be roundly supported by the council. It's something that's brought to us by the utilities, the water utility and the power utility. They're going to cut rates to the tune of about $46 million in rate relief. It's trying to get customers that are dealing with loss of income and financial hardship. But we also recognize that people are staying home and they're using a lot more utilities than they have in the past. And this is something that's hopefully they're able to help them. Second question that we're getting asked, a lot of people, unemployment or trying to get through, can't get through. I would urge you to continue trying to call the Texas Workforce Commission online. That number is 1-800-939-6631. That's 1-800-939-6631. Hard to get through. You know, they've adopted a new procedure if you're to help people get through. They've said if your area code starts with a certain number, you call at different times. A lot of people in our area code 512 begins with a 5. The suggested time to call is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. Most of the area codes won't be calling during that time, and hopefully it'll be easier to get through. But here in Austin, Workforce Solutions is a great number to call. Those folks will visit with you, help you craft an individual plan for yourself. They're working with employers to help mitigate furloughs, but Workforce Solutions in the capital area here is an absolutely great resource to reach out to. Masks. Remember, masks, the 95 masks are things we're trying to preserve for first responders and for healthcare workers. The rest of us are going to wear cloth face coverings. We talked about it last night. I showed you a couple of different ways to make one. I still have my mask that we talked about yesterday. It's a little worse for wear here this morning. Didn't have to sew anything. I made this out of t-shirt. Really easy thing to do. It's recommended that better than using cotton t-shirt is to use something that has a little bit thicker weave. Suggested that a sheet might be a better thing to do, a cotton sheet than a t-shirt. T-shirt still works, but might be a better thing to do. You know, if you go to the CDC website, they have material based solely on how to do these masks. Also on the City of Austin website. Question gets asked, should you wash them? And how regularly should you wash them? The answer is yes, you should wash them, and how regularly you should wash them depends on your use, the CDC says. I'd suggest that if you could, you should wash it every day. You can't wash it every other day. The question is, how do you clean and sterilize a mask like this? And the answer is, put it in your washing machine. I mean, really, that's all you need to do. You just need to clean it that way, the same way that you clean your clothes. How does one safely remove a used cloth face covering? They say be careful when you take it off. Don't put your fingers in your eyes or in your nose or in your mouth. Take it off. Be careful not to touch those things, and then put it where it can be. You get it so it can be cleaned, and then wash your hands. And remember, we're washing our hands for 20 seconds. We're singing the alphabet song or happy birthday when we do that. I'm hopeful that as we go through this week, we're going to see more and more fashion statements for people that are trying to do these cloth masks in different ways, and can be something we can enjoy. I'm going to conclude this Got a Minute here today by showing you something that came to me from Elisa. Elisa is in the 4th grade. She made absolutely the friendliest dragon I have ever seen. This is a dragon made out of fabric and pipe cleaners and excitingly, it sparkles. So we're seeing a lot more 3D art and projects that are coming our way. It's exciting to see. We did good with the numbers. Let's keep it up. Let's stay focused. Let's show the discipline. Get the word out to folks that might not be listening. Y'all take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Be safe.